Deputy Speaker, we're here to talk about migration and integration. I'm going to focus mainly on integration because I think that is the urgent point in terms of the discussion today, given some of the earlier comments that have been made. But firstly, just in terms briefly on migration, I think it's perfectly appropriate for us to have a conversation about the levels of migration. They have concerned a lot of Australians, and a lot of Australians are legitimately worried about house prices and about young people being locked out of homes and about infrastructure not keeping up with our population. 100% very fair questions. It is also, very fair questions in terms of what are the pathways available to people, making sure that those pathways are appropriate. And I think those are really important questions. But I really want to talk about integration because it does matter what we say about this in this House, and I feel very, very strongly about this, particularly as a daughter of a migrant and incredibly proud daughter of a migrant of my mum's family. The reason why I think this is really important is that we have a country that is one of the most diverse in history. And that is a remarkable thing. And I don't think it's easy to have a country as diverse as this country is. I think we need to take that responsibility carefully. But part of that responsibility is to treat people with the dignity of the individual, which is actually a deeply Western value. It's a very deeply liberal democratic value, that you have a moral authority based on you as a human. You are not, your moral authority, your role in life doesn't depend on your ethnicity, your ethnic origin, your religion, or anything, your sexuality, anything else. It comes down to you in terms of your responsibility, in terms of your character. That is what this country is based on, is the moral authority of the individual. And that is, I think, something that we have to focus on in having these sorts of conversations. Because there is an implication, and I don't know if it's, I'm not going to make assumptions about, what is deliberate and what is not. But I look at the people who are watching this debate today, and I think of the people at home. And every Australian who is in this country, who is willing to live by our values, who commits actually to the words of our citizenship pledge, which I'm delighted often to hear said by people, those people, they deserve our respect and they deserve our support, and we can learn and thrive from their difference as well as the contribution that they make to Australia. And I think we just have to keep coming back to the individuals rather than to blanket kind of groups who are other, to try and other and dehumanise parts of our community. I think we need to build a modern version of the Australian story, because we have this sort of Gallipoli myth about who we were back in 1914. We are a very different nation from then, and I think, frankly, a much greater nation from them. We do not, to see the world, you don't need to travel the world. You can actually experience the world here in Australia, and I think that is a wonderful thing and is something that I enjoy enormously. And I see a version of Australia which is representing the breadth and the depth and the diversity of our country, and can unite around an inclusivity rather than to a harking in the past which excludes a whole bunch of Australians. And if you exclude a whole bunch of Australians, you know what, we are not going to get back to that cohesive Australian country that some would like us to get. We are going to be more divided than ever. So I think it is up to us now as a country to build on that inclusive version of Australia, to accept that we have Australian values. We expect people to live by the rule of law. We expect people to live by our Australian values, but those Australian values encompass the view that your safety, your acceptance is not dependent on your ethnicity, your sexuality, your religion. It is down to you and your contribution to this country. And as I said, as a child of a migrant, I couldn't be more proud to be part of this country. I couldn't be more proud, actually, of my mother's contribution to this country as a migrant. And the member for Kennedy referenced Bondi. I could not be more proud that people like Ahmed Al-Ahmed made a huge difference in people's lives by saving them, because he did not look at religion or anything else. He stood up for the Australian values that I am proud that he is part of this country. And we have to be very careful how we lead this, because this is a special country. It is not easy to be this diverse, but we can do that. But that means having a version of Australia that we can all buy into. Thank you.
I give the call to member for